What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Stoppage Time Stooges. My name is Christian. I'm the host. We got Jacob and Ricardo. No Andrew this week, so that's a big miss for us. But he will certainly be back next week. We're going to be talking all of our teams. We'll be talking some Manchester United, absentees from the AFCON and the Asian Cup, which starts relatively soon. So a jam-packed show. But before we get started, guys, how we doing?
Swell.
See, I love when you start by saying that swell, and then it's going to turn into a whole it's not going to be as swell
Gonna
once we
open
get
up a can of worms, as they say.
exactly.
It
But,
starts
yeah,
swell and then it trickles down further and further.
he doesn't mean it at all. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Good. It's nice to not have the stress of worrying about getting 3 points in the Premier League for a couple more days.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's over a week. So we got, I think,
Or
FA Cup.
the NFC East, right?
Huh?
Or winning the NFC East this weekend.
Less than a minute in, and we've somehow brought this. I'm not talking NFC East.
It's a lock.
No. We'll worry about that Sunday night. That's a problem for a different day. But
Don't want to hear it.
all right, so let's start reviewing our teams. All three have been in action in recent days. Jacob, we'll start with you. Chelsea's picked up 2 consecutive wins. The weekend's game was a bit difficult. Luton Town's been a tough team to play. They made it difficult, as most do at home, but Chelsea were able to find a way to get all 3 points. So right now, how are you feeling about your Blues?
Blue, and I don't mean that in a good way. Uninspired, annoyed, frustrated, pissed off.
I might as well change the banner already.
Yeah.
I mean, they have this easy run of games after they have their sort of gauntlet that I mentioned a lot in previous weeks. But they have this nice run of games that should make me feel better. It was Sheffield, Wolves, Crystal Palace, and Luton Town. They lost the damn Wolves game, which should not have happened. But, they beat Crystal Palace barely. I mean, they had to freaking hang on by the skin of their teeth, which should not have been the case. Everything was going fine in the first half. And what does Pochettino do? Oh, I know. Let's put the right back, who's a right-footed guy, at left back. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, I know. We don't have anything going forward. We're not as good defensively. Oh, and guess what? It doesn't work. Who could have predicted that? I mean, what? I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, and how many times do I have to watch Levi Colwill play left back? He's not a left back. You didn't give him a 6-year contract to play left back. He's a center half. I'm not saying that Ian Maatson is Marcus Alonso, but can we find out if he's any good? Please? And can we put him in his natural position? Not right wing, not center mid, not the 10. No. Left back. It's not that hard, Poch. So one of the good aspects of that Palace game, which I thought would be good, was I finally get to see Romeo Lavia play. Finally. He comes off the bench. It's okay. I'm not, nothing to go, jump out of your socks about, but he's fine. And then what do I hear after the game? Oh, he picked up a knock. He wasn't walking good. This guy has been out the entire season, and he wastes no time to freaking get hurt again. And of course, he's not available to go for the Wolves game. Who knows if he's going to play this week, and who knows if he's going to be out anymore. I mean, the infirmary, surely they're out of freaking rooms or beds, for crying out loud, with all these people that are injured on this team. I mean, and they win the Palace game thanks to Noni Madueke, who finally gets to play and scores a goal. Wow, what a nice if he got to play when he was healthy more often. Poch, and then again, he actually scores a goal against Luton Town, a nice goal too. And thank God for Cole Palmer. I will say that. Thank God. And you know what's funny about Cole Palmer? Cole Palmer costs less than $50 million.
And he was bought late in the window.
Less than $50 million. Who costs more? Let's see. Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. Oh, Wesley Fofana, who's hurt and was not very good last year when he was healthy.
Cucurella.
Cucurella costs more than
Who
that.
has been better this season, to be fair. Injured, but
I mean, it was such a low bar of him being better than last year.
I guess you can go off that point of view.
I mean, he had to be around. That was all it took for him to be better, for God's sake. But again, I'm still like, I'm just like, why do I have to watch Nicholas Jackson week in and week out? Why? What are we trying to prove? You can't use the excuse anymore of you have no more attacking options with injuries. You had all of them against Luton Town. And I had to watch Nicholas Jackson play almost the entire game. And I don't care that he got an assist. I don't care. It was still a terrible performance. Thank God for AFCON. I get a break from my eyes. Get a break from Nicholas Jackson because that's what they need. A break because it hurts my eyes. And again, with the Luton Town game, they're up 3-0. They're cruising along. I'm like, let's win this 5-0. Let's really, beat them down. And then Enzo Fernandez comes in, and all hell breaks loose. 1 goal, terrible defending, and then another goal, and I am like, oh God, they're gonna do it, aren't they? They're gonna lose to freaking Luton Town, and I know that they're away at Luton Town. It's like the new ruckus environment and whatnot. It's got how it seats 10 people, and it's a real cracker, as they would say. But they were this close to drawing against a team that there's the Chelsea team alone, as far as money spent, is probably more than Luton spent ever on players. That's not acceptable. Yes, they won the game. I'm happy, but I shouldn't have to sweat over playing Luton Town. I got up at 7:30 in the morning to watch that crap. Don't make me have to freaking sweat it out. I'm too tired already. They have an FA Cup game this weekend. It's against some freaking team.
It's against Preston at home.
It's not a Premier League team. What does that mean? Win by more than 1 goal. Don't make me get worried about this game. Win by at least 2, please. And thank God for Georgi Petrovic, I will say that. I don't want to see Robert Sanchez again unless this guy gets injured. I do not want to see him again. No way, no how. Please don't make me watch him again. And I don't want to hear any more, Thiago Silva needs to be on the bench. If they didn't have Thiago Silva in that game against Luton Town, it would have been they would have lost. Because this is what I've been screaming about forever, among many things. This is what I've been screaming about forever. This team has no veteran leadership. None. Except him. But otherwise, pretty much none. It's ridiculous. And you wonder why, it's a 3-0 game. Surely you can hold on, right? Nope. Why? Because you have a bunch of guys looking around saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Your guess is as good as mine. Because they're not battle tested. What, you think playing in freaking Enzo Fernandez? He played in the World Cup final. Whoop-de-doo.
So that is the highest level.
Did Mario Götze. So did Andre Schürrle. I don't care. Okay, anyone can play in the World Cup final. It means nothing.
I don't know about that.
I don't know if I'd take it that far.
Again, I'm annoyed. I'm not as annoyed as I have been in weeks because they have been, winning, and even though it's still not inspiring, but still a lot of work that needs to be done. And they better be active in January. But please, don't make me get on my knees. Please, do not sign anyone under the age of 20. I want people that will play now. Not next year, not in a year and a half. No. Now. Please. Why don't you sign guys like the ones you sold, like Kovacic, because we had to sell him? Can you sign people that have been around just a little? You see what James Ward-Prowse is doing at West Ham? Does he lead the league in assists, if I'm not mistaken?
He's up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been nice? 40 million, a freaking bargain. Let's go Palmer. Instead, we get the other Southampton midfielder who's not as good and not as available. But no, I guess I'm such an idiot. But I've had enough. I'm done.
I'm not going to let you off the hook yet because I do have one question.
Please.
There's been reports about, and I know you don't like him. I know you've had a lot of complaints about him, but there have been reports about Conor Gallagher to Tottenham. No. I know you want to get rid of him.
Tottenham. If you're going to get rid of him, not Tottenham. Please don't send him.
Okay, so
not
you're
to a rival.
cool with getting rid of him, but not to them.
No, I don't want him going to a rival. I actually don't want to get rid of him. I just don't want him to play every single week. I don't need him playing every minute of every game wearing the armband. He can be there. I want him as a squad player, but I don't want him featuring, leading the team out. Oh, it makes me sick.
All right, so
John Terry led the team out. Frank Lampard led the team out. Cesar Azpilicueta led the team out. And now Conor Gallagher. Golly,
well, this would be a problem.
How the mighty have fallen. This is how low it is.
Mm.
But thank you for your question.
Yeah, well, hopefully Ben Chilwell can get back, and then he'll be leading the team out.
And then stay on the field.
Yeah, and then he'll play him so high up the pitch that he's not going to have time to defend anybody. But you know what? Whatever. We'll get there when we do.
All right, that I think that's plenty Chelsea today. By the way, your next league game is at 7:30 in the morning, so be prepared for an early morning next Saturday. I had to throw that in there because I was looking.
Give it to friggin' Liverpool. They like playing at 12:30. Let them freaking whine about it. I know Jurgen loves at 12:30. Let him freaking do it.
Yep, Chelsea, Fulham, January 13th, 7:30 at Stamford Bridge.
Another thing about Fulham, they're the weirdest team in the league. I'm convinced that they can beat anybody in the Premier League and also lose to anybody. I am convinced of that. Didn't they? They beat Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
They have these games where they can. Yeah.
Here's some crazy results. They've beaten Arsenal. They beat West Ham by 5 goals.
Yeah.
They put 5 goals past Nottingham Forest. I mean, that's just a couple of results. They've been very up and down. I mean, the crazy thing is they took 4 points off of Arsenal this year. They went to the Emirates and took a point, and then they beat them at home. Yeah, I think Fulham.
Yeah.
Fulham are the weirdest team, and they're somehow sitting 13th.
That's makes no sense.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to my team, Liverpool, who picked up a massive result on Monday night against Newcastle, 4-2. The XG is got to be the first thing I talk about. Their XG was over 7.5 goals.
It's crazy.
In 95 minutes. I mean, Martin Dubravka had one of the best games I've seen all season, despite giving up 4 goals. Liverpool probably should have put 7 past them, to be honest. Newcastle is in some of the worst form of the season. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I think they have the second worst record in the division away from home. I think they have 1 win, and it was against Sheffield when they put up, I think it was 9 goals
they put up
at Bramall Lane.
Oh, yeah.
They really socked them.
Yeah. Newcastle are a complete mess. I did not expect it to be this bad. And the problem is with financial fair play, I don't know how much they can really do in January.
All right. Yeah.
It's really tough to see where they are currently 11 points back of 4th. I just think the strength of the top of the league is just going to be too tall for them to mount a comeback. As for Liverpool, and we'll touch on the absentees, that was a huge win with Endo and Salah leaving. Because had they dropped points in that game, City is definitely the biggest threat. And I honestly think right now City are still the favorites.
Yeah.
Because the gap is so small. And they usually pick up pace in February and March. And I think as we've seen, Arsenal have taken a blip, or they're in a bad patch right now. At least the results have not been good. The performances have not been good. And Liverpool, besides this Newcastle game, have kind of scraped by in the league. I know they haven't played their best, which, there's two sides of that. Either you can say they should get better, which means there's more to come, or they're leaving themselves with a lot to be desired. And once they play the big teams, they're going to get exposed. So, yeah, I think Liverpool have to remain strong at the top throughout the rest of January, which is going to be a big test because they do have some important games, particularly in the cups. I know they have to play Arsenal this weekend at the Emirates. But, I mean, their next couple games in the league are against Bournemouth, Chelsea at home. Then they go play Arsenal at the Emirates in the league. So if they really want to win this title, I think they have to remain, 5-6 points ahead of City throughout this month. Because if they can't find a way to keep this gap, City's going to punch them in the mouth. They're just way too deep. Haaland's got a knock. He's coming back. De Bruyne's back in the squad. To me, I think City are still the favorites until the gap, reaches double digits, which I don't think it ever will. I think they're going to come back much stronger after a Club World Cup trophy. So I think, I'm sure you guys agree. I just want to hear your take on that. Do you still believe at this current time that City are number one?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they don't even have anyone going to the AFCON, right? I believe that's like they have all their players, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Who
At
would
least
be?
of
I
their
can't think of
main
anyone that would
their
be.
main players, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, so that's a huge benefit to them. Unlike Liverpool, Salah, and I mean, those two are key players to the squad for Liverpool. So, yeah, I would say for that reason, I mean, that they're definitely the favorite, and just because they've been there and done that for so many years now, and I mean, what was the deficit last year? The Arsenal was up by what? Was it
10?
10 points at one point? Yeah, right.
It was definitely double digits. I don't know if it reached any higher than 10. It might have been 12.
Yeah, it might have been that, but like they overcame that, and that's also in part because of Arsenal kind of falling off at the end. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, a 5 point gap is like nothing. Like they
Yeah.
can easily overcome that. And like you said, Christian, like they're only getting better. I mean, and healthier. And usually, like you said, this is the time when they start to figure themselves out and really find their form. So, yeah, they're still they should be the favorites because they've done it so many times. They always find a way. I don't know how, but they do.
Jacob,
Yeah,
you tend to agree?
I do. One thing I've said a lot since we've been doing this show is that I'm going to pick City until they let me down. I just can't not pick them. I don't think that they're obviously not as strong as they were last year. This is probably like their I don't want to say their weakest year because I don't think weak's the right word. It's definitely going to be the biggest struggle for them to win the league. I think of any time in recent years. I still give them the edge because I think that Alvarez has been really good he's been really good with Haaland in the team. He's been good without Haaland in the team. I still don't think that a lot of Pep's lineup I don't know what his thing with Nunez is. I don't really see the allure with him at all. I don't really know what he's supposed to do. And again, they don't have a left back. They haven't had a left back ever since he's been there, pretty much. At least not a very good one. And they find a way to figure it out. And the thing is, like, I feel like I was about to put Arsenal, like, they're the team to me that can win the title that is not named City. And then as soon as I do, I'm like, lost to West Ham, which is not a bad loss. It's not they lost to a terrible team, but they lose that game and then they lose to Fulham. And then you go, and then no one wants to wrap their arms around Jesus. It's always, can they upgrade? Should they upgrade? Christian made a good point to me off air. Like, Martinelli's been bad this year. He just hasn't really done anything. He's been his forms took a massive dip, and it still seems like it's all Jesus' fault that he's not playing well. But I still think City's it. But about Liverpool though, I know they're at the top, but I have a really hard time. I don't trust them. I have a hard time buying into them because I don't think not that they're bad at the back, but I just don't. I don't think if they have Kanate with Van Dijk the rest of the year, I don't think that's a good enough partnership. As good as Van Dijk is, I don't think he's good enough to carry someone. Like, it's not like it's Lovren back there. Kanate is better than that. But to me, if I'm Liverpool, if they want to make moves in January, that would be the position, apart from left back too, because they have injuries there, that I would want to strengthen up, because I just don't. It could be Matip, it could be Kanate. You don't want a revolving door, and I think that's to me the position that they probably need to address. I'm really curious about how they fill Salah's shoes, which is a very hard thing to do because of how good he is. Yeah. I don't. Has Gakpo been? What do you think of Gakpo? Because I think he's been a little disappointing ever since he got signed with.
So I think he was good last season when he came in. At the beginning of the year, he was really up and down. Lately, he's been one of the more consistent forwards. I think with Jota, who's come back from injury and has been very effective. He was a lot scrutinized, I would say, on Monday. By the way, that was a dive.
Yes.
But you talking about Jota?
Yes.
Easily.
And
that was most. I'm like
horrible.
That's a dive because one, obviously there's contact, but he takes two more steps before he falls, and I'm like,
it was. I cannot believe Anthony Taylor did not.
Buddy, that is the most obvious dive you'll get the whole
Simulation,
year.
card the man. Like that was.
He didn't even fall when he should have fallen, which is what the heck happened. He took two more steps and fell forward.
Yeah, that was.
I watched now. I'm like,
but we needed to mention that.
Yeah.
And like you guys said, he felt contact, could have gone down, but because he had such a poor touch and knew he wasn't going to get to the ball before it went out for a goal kick, he decided to fall. And I don't know how VAR did not monitor that and say that's simulation, book him. And I don't know if Newcastle would have, walked away from that game.
Probably not.
Probably not. And they wouldn't have deserved it because they were very, very bad. Despite, a very good set piece that Sev Botman scored from, and Isak had a fantastic finish. Besides that, there were no good moments from them. They were all over the place. But yeah, Jota, that was a clear dive. I don't know how that was not overturned.
Speaking of Newcastle, there's now there's growing chatter about Eddie Howe's job security. What do we think about that?
You can't blame.
I'm not saying they should. I've
seen that too. I don't think that's fair on him. There's been of the teams in the league, they have had the most injuries and in the most key positions too. And it's growing too. They had no Trippier and no Callum Wilson at Liverpool. Just to add to everybody else they're missing. I don't think Eddie Howe, again, is he a top, 3 or 4 manager in the league? No, but I don't think anybody's expecting him to be that either. So I think he should remain in the job through at least the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the injuries are. There's only so much you can do with the amount of players he has left. It's like just mixing and matching at this point. It's just like whoever's healthy, just throw them on the field. Like you can't really do much with it. So
you mentioned
it would be harsh if for some reason Newcastle decided to let him go. So
you mentioned Christian financial fair play with Newcastle and that affecting what they do. Who have they signed other than Tonali?
Well, I think it's just over the cross of the new ownership because they brought Bruno Guimaraes. Isaac was for a hefty.
That was
fee. I don't
last
know.
year, right?
I think it's. Oh, I don't know all the details.
These rules are stupid. I mean, they're all out of whack. They're not clear. They don't make any sense. It just seems like they like to pick on teams when they're bored.
Yeah,
Everton. Like, come on, we're gonna punish Everton. Haven't they had enough problems? We have to take off 10 points. Like, give me a break.
Yeah,
if Everton were cheating, don't you think they'd be a little better? I am sorry. I mean,
that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Newcastle are they're in the most trouble of the big sides. I think when it comes to injuries, at least a lot of these guys are nowhere near being back. They're all in key areas too. They're just in a big mess right now. And I mean, at this point, if they can survive and manage to find a way into the Europa League or the Conference League, that would be a massive achievement. Because again, and we'll continue to talk about this over the second half of the season, I think the depth at the top of the Premier League right now is as strong as ever. And it's not as simple as, you face, 3 teams in the bottom half and you can pick up 9 straight points. We've seen all year long that, teams like Luton are extremely frustrating to play against. Wolves have beaten Chelsea. They've beaten Manchester City. They've beaten Spurs. The parity in the league is, it's crazy how far it's come because, we're so used to the teams at the bottom just struggling, year after year. And now it looks a little bit different. So I think Newcastle's in a really tough spot, but we'll see how Liverpool, as Jacob mentioned, how do they cope without Salah? Because you're going to be very reliant on Jota, on Gakpo, on a Darwin Nunez, who's been not great lately.
Up and down. It's up and down.
The underlying numbers are obviously there. His work rate's, great. But again, you're judged off your goals and your assists when you're a striker. And it's going to be more heavily scrutinized if we're wasteful without Salah because you can't just rely on him, through the next 8 games in all competitions to see your way through and get 3 points. They're going to have to take their chances. So that'll be my thing to watch out for over the next 2 months or so. But that's enough Premier League for now. We're going to move over to Ricardo's team, who picked up a big result yesterday against Malaga?
Yesterday. Mallorca.
Mallorca. I'm thinking of a team that hasn't been in the division in years.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that name in a while, but yeah, I mean they dominate. I mean, I didn't watch, I was working, but from at least the highlights and just from looking at some of the stats, I mean, it seemed like Real Madrid dominated most of the game. I mean, dominated possession. I think it was 68% possession. Outshot them by 10. I mean, just on the health front, though, seeing Tchouaméni back in the squad, he played at center back because, Nacho was, suspended at the moment with that red card he got in the game against, who was it? It was, Alaves. Yeah, that's who it was. So, running thin at center back, but Tchouaméni has shown he can play there. And, I mean, just again, from what I saw, it seemed like he did a serviceable job. Vinny back in the squad as well. That's also great to see. I mean, paired him up with Rodrigo up front. He didn't play the full game, obviously, still kind of working his way back. Joselu came on for him, I believe. And you were at home. You kind of expected a result probably better than this, more than one goal. I mean, Brahim Diaz had that one huge miss, a wide open miss. Just I don't really know how. He's literally in front of the net. Goes for a diving header. It hits the post. The net is wide open. I just somehow completely missed it. And Jude was pissed. He was right behind Brahim Diaz. And that should have been 2-0. That should have been game over. But still, they got the win, got the job done. And they've won their last 3 La Liga games. The last one they dropped points was against Betis, which was a month ago now. Well, a little less than that, but sitting, I mean, at the top with Girona, which is, I mean, a story in it of itself. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or reactions on Real or the title race, because I mean, yeah, it's
Go.
fascinating.
Yeah, I do. I'm surprised you didn't bring up the fact that Carlo Ancelotti is not going to be managing Brazil.
Good
in the
point. We haven't talked
2024
about
Yeah,
World
it's a
Cup.
valid point.
Yeah, I thought it was signed, sealed, delivered.
Listen,
I thought
that
it was a
to me-
formality. That was over.
to me, for some reason, it feels like old news. It almost like I kind of glossed over it. I mean, yeah, it's huge news. That's for sure, because he was obviously linked with Brazil, like the Brazilian national team, and I mean, I think Andrew's also kind of with me on this, and we both thought he was gone after this season. I mean, especially with all the rumors that came out that, oh yeah, once this season's over, he's gone. He's going to Brazil, and I mean, turns out not the case. Signed until what is it, 2026, I believe. So
yeah, I think
get another 2 years, another 2 seasons with him.
Are you relieved?
What's that?
How do you feel about it?
I do feel relieved, knowing that we don't have to go out and search for someone like, I mean, De Serbi obviously could have been an option, but there weren't too many, I mean, Xabi Alonso, you could say what you want. I mean, he's done phenomenal at Bayer Leverkusen. That was certainly another name that popped up, but I feel relieved because I think he's really good manager. He's managed so many different kinds of players. I mean, the different stars, Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema. I mean, the list goes on with the players he's managed. He's just such a players manager, players coach. He just adapts really well to what he has. So I feel like it's kind of hard to do that and so consistently for so many years, but personally, I'm relieved. I'm glad he's staying. I've always loved Don Carlo, as we call him, but I'm sure Andrew feels the same. But
I mean, you're right. You think of all the players he's managed: Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, Pickford,
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Michael Ballack. Well, he actually was good, but Nicholas Anelka. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to throw a bunch of random names in there.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's big news though. And one thing to mention off of that, it's a huge trickle effect with Leverkusen, because I don't know if Xabi Alonso is going to leave after this season. Maybe he will, but again, I don't know what job intrigues him more than Madrid. He might wait for that, whether that's 2026 or beyond.
I think he should too.
I just think that's a perfect match for him, and I think a couple more years at Leverkusen would do him well. I mean, if they win the title this year, if Verona weren't doing what they're doing, and if maybe they don't win the title, maybe they do, I don't know. But if that wasn't going on, I think Leverkusen might be the biggest story in Europe, Europe's top 5 leagues, because Bayern have been I mean, nobody can get past them. Dortmund should have last year. But again, most teams in Germany cannot cope with the responsibility of trying to dethrone Bayern. Leverkusen's going to have to get through a gauntlet in the next 2 months, because we're going to talk about Prem teams missing players from AFCON and the Asian Cup. They are missing a lot, Leverkusen, from both competitions. So we'll see how they cope. But as for the title race, Girona had one of the most entertaining games. I was glad I watched their game against Atletico Madrid, because it was high flying, goals from everywhere. Alvaro Morata scores a hat trick, his second of the season. Who would have guessed that?
Certainly not me.
Nope, me neither.
And I mean, they answer every single test that comes their way right now. They're not dropping points in most of their matches. Madrid's going to really push them to the brink, though, because even when Madrid doesn't play well, they find a way to take 3 points. Jude comes up with goals from the midfield. Rodrigo plays well when Vinicius is out of the team. I just think Real Madrid's going to be too tough to catch. I think it's going to be close because truthfully, I think Girona is just way too offensively, electric. They're going to score 2-3 goals in a lot of these games against teams in the bottom half of the league.
Yeah.
But again, if they can't, salvage games against teams like Barca and Real Madrid away from home, I don't know how they can really match up against one of the strongest teams in Europe because, even when Madrid looks like they're going to drop 2 points from a game, they find a goal, 85th minute or later to snag all 3 points. So I think that's a really good characteristic of Real Madrid, and it's why they are where they are at the moment, and it's why they've been so dominant in recent years because, the good teams, they'll drop points here and there, but the best teams, they're only dropping points in games where, they are really, really outmatched. And Madrid just doesn't do that. So I think that really benefits Madrid both in La Liga and in the Champions League.
Yeah. I think also just touching on Girona, their only loss was against Real Madrid, was against us.
Was it
And
home or away?
that was at home.
Okay.
And they honestly should have scored 2 goals early on in that game. Like Real Madrid could have easily been down, but instead they won that 3-0, I believe. But
I think you're right.
yeah, I think it's just I mean, Leicester City is what comes to mind. Like this is just one of those runs that you see like maybe once in a lifetime sort of thing. But I imagine it happens again. If that listen, I wouldn't be mad. Like I can't not root for them. What? Listen.
What?
Can I just be honest with you?
Yes.
When will this ever happen again? If this were to happen, if Girona were to go on and win this title, this would not. Let me just tell you why. The manager's probably gone. Some of their players will probably.
A lot of them are on loan, so that I do agree there.
On
That is
loan
true.
too. I mean, I'm saying the manager too. I mean, it's so hard to be that consistently good, especially with they don't have the money, they don't have the finances like these big teams. And then add on top of it, see what happened to Newcastle, their first time back in Europe. I mean, inexperience, I mean, injuries, whatever you want to say about that, but still, like they didn't have that pedigree because it's been so long since they'd been in the Champions League. So again, I feel like that kind of applies to Girona. So there's so many possibilities with, kind of these smaller teams in Europe and just so many different factors. Like I'm just saying, I'm appreciating it now. And like, I know this is also kind of me being arrogant because Real Madrid has won so many titles as well. So listen, I'm saying as long as it's not Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, if it's Girona, fine, so be it. Like I'm not.
I get it. I mean, I'm
just appreciating it.
I get it. I mean, when Leicester City won the title, Chelsea were awful that year, so it was like I didn't have a dog in the fight. But I will say this: that when Chelsea played Tottenham and they were down 2-0, and then they came back to get a draw, and that gave Leicester the title and not Tottenham. I was very happy that night. Because it was great. I'm like much rather have Leicester win than Tottenham win. So I understand, but again, if I was you, I want to win that friggin' La Liga every damn year.
I know.
I don't care if there's 4 good teams in the league. I still want to win it. Or 5.
I didn't say I didn't want to win it. I'm just saying
You wouldn't mind. You wouldn't be upset. Well, I don't know. You phrase it the way you want to phrase it. Would you be upset?
Well, like not like. Okay, I'd be a little upset, obviously. Like I have to be, but I'm not gonna like. It's not the end of the world to me. It's just like the other side of it. Just like this is something magic that's happening right now. Like I don't know. I try to see it in a more positive. Like again, if it were Barcelona, I would hate everything. But it's not. It's just. I feel like this is just rare to see.
Oh yeah.
I have a question. This will definitely not happen. This is just to get a rise out of Ricardo. What if Girona, I don't know who his name is, they lose their manager, Barcelona fires Xavi, and he goes there next year?
I'd be
a little Girona.
I'd be a little annoyed. Yeah, I mean, he clearly is a better manager than Xavi right now. So, um, I mean, I don't even want to think about that right now. I want to live in the now. So that's up for a later discussion.
Hey, if Barca, tap out of the Champions League in the round of 16 and Barca don't finish anywhere close to the top two, we might be looking at this as one of the greatest moments of the pod. If Jacob calls this. Because, I mean,
question.
go ahead.
Ricardo, I'm gonna get Ricardo annoyed again. Ricardo, rank these three people: Brian Johnson, not the one from ACDC. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Matt Patricia and Xavi.
Wait, what's the like?
I don't know. Just who you hate. Who you hate.
Who you have the most frustration with?
Yeah. Who do you hate the most? No, not frustration, because that's easier. Who do you hate the most of those three? Yeah, 1 to 3. I got you good, didn't I?
Oh God. Well, I'd say the least is probably Brian Johnson, as weird as that might sound. But Matt Patricia is, oh my, I don't know, man. I hate Xavi too. Like,
I mean, it's different with them being part of your
enjoying
team.
this.
I would say, yeah, Xavi first, and then Matt Patricia second. Brian Johnson, my least hated, but that's not saying much, really.
That was fun.
That one got me. Yeah, that was good.
That had forced you to do some thinking.
Yeah, it really did.
All right, let's circle back to the Premier League. We're going to talk Manchester United, topic we virtually discuss every single episode. They're always in the news. This time it's positive for a player who looks like he's on the way out. Jadon Sancho may be, I think it's close. I don't know if it's done yet. Maybe we'll hear about it tomorrow from Fabrizio and some other reporters. But it looks like Jadon Sancho is going back to Dortmund on a 6-month loan. It appears no buyback for Dortmund, which kind of makes sense. I don't think they have the funds or the fee or the wages to really put that together. But for him, what do you guys think of that in terms of him kind of finding his feet? Because, again, he hasn't played since August 26th. 3 bench appearances for United this season. So it's going to take him a while to get back.
Yeah. It's great for Sancho. You think, where would he want, if you probably ask where would he want to go, it'd probably be the place he'd want to go the most. It is a loan, it's not permanent, but I mean, maybe he gives Dortmund the spark that they need. I mean, they're 5th in the Bundesliga. I'm not saying that. I mean, am I confident when I say that? No, but because I don't know how rusty he's going to be. I don't know if he can replicate what he had, the way he played the last time he was there. It's not impossible. I mean, it's like he aged that much. And I don't know. I mean, I question his desire, Jadon Sancho. I really do. I question how bad he wants it. Say what you want about how Ten Hag handled the whole thing. I don't know. I'm not. I mean, who knows? Since this is a loan, if let's say that the new ownership doesn't like Eric Ten Hag by the end of the year or earlier, and he gets fired, who knows if we see Jadon Sancho maybe play for Man United again? I don't think it's completely out of the picture. So we'll see. But Man United had to do this. They had to get this distraction out of the way, and I don't know if it's going to make them any better, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, kind of gets that toxic, well, whatever, I feel like it was kind of swept under the rug. It was kind of dramatic at first, and it's been quiet since, but still just, I guess for United fans, just sitting there in the back of your mind, like, oh, what happens with Sancho? Well, at least you have a temporary solution of not like seeing him for 6 months. And I guess if you're looking at it from a United fan, you could be looking at it like, okay, 6 months goes back to where, he became a star and why he was so appealing to United. And yeah, he'll be rusty. That's without question. But this for Sancho is like, he has something to prove, like that he's still the player that he was before. And that kind of like what you were saying, Jacob. Like, who knows if Ten Hag's there at the end of the season, and perhaps he's showcasing himself for the potential next manager. So he has a lot to prove. That should be his drive, his sort of mentality, and to prove all these doubters wrong, all these critics of his personality or whatever conduct, however he conducts himself, his personality, all that stuff. Like this is his chance to, silence them, and at least for the next 6 months, and that's ultimately up to his own desire, his own drive, however you may feel about it. So
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And they're going to need him, Dortmund. I've heard some reports about Daniel Malin maybe potentially going in January, which would then open up a spot for Sancho. If I had to guess, he'll be close to. I don't know what full fitness looks like for him. Maybe it's February. Again, it depends on how quickly this thing moves. Obviously, the German clubs are not in action right now. I think they have their winter break. I don't know what they call it. But again, I think he'll be important for them. Again, they need to qualify for the Champions League next season. There's important benchmarks for Dortmund to hit each and every year. Of course, they're not going to, get to the same level they were at last year in the league, but they have a matchup in the Champions League against PSV that looks like it's going to be, at least in my opinion, 50-50. And he could be a difference maker. That second leg won't come till March. So by then he should be, playing regularly and, having minutes each and every week. It just stinks, I think, from a player perspective that, this whole mess at United came at a time where he would be prepping for Euros. He's not going. There's so many players in that position pool. And I mean, we were looking at him like Ricardo, you mentioned, he was a star at Dortmund, one of the best young English players during that period. And, he was part of the Euro squad in 2020, or I guess 2021. It was when it was Euro 2020.
Yep.
And we were thinking of him as one of the next big things, coming back to England. And unfortunately, it just did not pan out even before this season. He was not good last year. He just didn't look like he was fit. Jacob's right in, questioning maybe his determination and what he really wants, because, a player who is, willing to run, willing to press, is really going to shine for a team like United, especially when you have so many, unknowns at this point in the club. If he was really a relentless player who was, not going to care what people thought, and he would just play as hard as he could for 90 minutes each and every game, he'd be one of the best players for the team. Look at Rashford, inconsistent. Garnacho is starting to figure it out, but for a while it was hit or miss with him. Anthony, we'll talk, week after week, one of the worst signings in the Premier League in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And Sancho is right there with them. And that doesn't even include the fact that United at one point in this season were thinking about bringing Mason Greenwood back into the mix, who has a lot of problems off the field. We won't discuss those, but it just really shows how bad of a spot United are right now. And, this is the perfect time for Sancho to go. It's a mess there. Dortmund's a much better situation with much less pressure. I think that's a perfect fit for him. And hopefully over the next 6 months, he can find some sort of form to impress Ten Hag, the next manager at United, teams across Europe, because I think if Ten Hag's back, or he still remains at the club going into next season, I think Sancho's gone. That they're going to have to take a cut price, because there's no way they're going to get back the price that they paid to get him from Dortmund. But I think teams will be sniffing around from him if he has a good second half of the season in Germany. But we'll see how that goes. Let's move on to another player for Manchester United, Andre Onana, who was set to go to AFCON with Cameroon, but that's been delayed. Manchester United somehow came to an agreement with the Cameroon Federation to allow him to play one day before Cameroon's first game in the tournament. When I read it, I couldn't believe it. It is one of the most bizarre things ever, and it kind of shows how much Onana is meaning to this team right now because they really won't play another goalkeeper.
They haven't. They haven't all year. I don't think that. I think Onana's played every minute of every game this year for them.
It's bizarre.
Like 90% sure of that. Not even in like games where they played like crap teams or like games where they like. I mean, like do they really need him to beat Wigan? I mean,
Yeah,
really?
No,
Wigan? I mean,
that's so shocking. Yeah, it just
I mean,
doesn't
they
make
want him for the Tottenham
like he's not
match.
lighting the world up on fire either.
No.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, like that's so strange. I really don't understand the reasoning behind it at all. Like, what do you benefit from that? Like, I don't know. If it was like a pivotal game, if it was like the Manchester Derby, fine, all right, that's like that makes more sense. But
game, no.
it's not like
well, one of them is a cup game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, isn't it like there's like 2 games that he wants to play in? Or
So
what is it?
the reason why they kept him around is for the game against Tottenham in the league, which is next weekend. Which
fine,
it's an important match, but again, I never thought I would ever see something like this where because the AFCON's important. It's not as media driven as like the Euros, but it's really important to these teams and these countries and these fan bases. And Cameroon's going to need him. And we'll discuss AFCON in more detail next week, but they're going to need him to, potentially go on a run. Maybe they win that game without him, but yeah, I'm shocked that Cameroon allowed that to happen because you want your number one goalkeeper for the entire tournament. Why would you let him miss the first game? United must have pulled some, strings to make this happen because I just never thought in a million years we would see something like this.
Some bribery, some under the table sort of deal. I don't know. That's that's just so strange. I don't think it's ever happened like this. Where it's like someone's like, oh yeah, you can go the day after or like after a game. No, like who does that? Whatever. Anyway,
bizarre. United. We've talked in detail. And again, as Jacob mentioned, Onana's not even been firing on all cylinders. He's still giving up sloppy goals every now and then. I mean, he's had some good saves and some good performances, but it hasn't been good enough.
I mean, their backup goalkeeper, his name's Altay Bayindir. I mean, what is he, blind? I mean, is he that bad? I mean, it's not like your defense is a brick wall. I mean, it's like Ferdinand and Vidic came out of retirement to freaking shore it up. I mean, meanwhile, they're giving Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka extensions. Why?
Oh, that's
why?
Conversation.
I like Wan-Bissaka more than most people do, but why are we in a rush to do this now? How would they play?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Like,
that'd be like if Chelsea gave Reece James an extension for 15 years without like medical insurance.
On the sidelines.
Yeah, without like medical, without like freaking a new hamstring with it.
You should give him your hamstring for crying out loud.
I would. I don't. I would not swap.
You wouldn't be able to
if he swaps hamstrings, Jacob would be limping around all the time.
I want to run.
Oh man. Well, we'll see if United. It would be funny if they find a way to somehow not win that game, which they probably will.
Wouldn't it be hilarious though
if Tottenham goes to Old Trafford and wins?
No, if like Altay Bayindir like has a run of games without Onana there and he doesn't give up a goal.
That would be funny.
That'd be shocking.
Oh my God.
Beyond shocking.
I'm not like rooting for this to happen. I'm just
no.
I think Onana's a good guy. I really want him to be good because I've said to you guys that I actually think that if anyone should be the captain of the team, I know he's only been there 1 year, but I actually think that he acts most like a leader of anyone on the entire team. But I do, if that, let's say that scenario happened, that'd be funny.
Yeah, we'll see. United's 31 points through 20 matches. They are 9 points off of fourth place Arsenal. So a large gap to climb over the second half of the season. But we'll move on to our last topic, which is AFCON and Asian Cup absentees. We'll be focusing in the Premier League. There's a couple teams that are really going to be hampered by that. Liverpool's certainly one of them. We talked about two guys they'll be missing, which is Salah and Endo. I think for me, and I'll quickly start and then I'll go to you guys, Tottenham's going to really miss three players in particular. Heung-min Son, of course, but Pape Sarr, who's been one of the best young midfielders in the league this season, is going to be gone. And so is Basuma. And, they're going to get some guys back. Mickey van der Ven's in training, I think. James Maddison's supposed to be back at some point this month. So, I mean, Spurs, they have had a lot of injuries, but Ange has done a wonderful job. They have 39 points. They're 1 point off of fourth. I think if you saw all these guys out and you really thought they were going to fall apart like a Newcastle is right now. But, of course, not a good result against Brighton last week, but they bounced back and got 3 points against Bournemouth over the weekend. I've been very impressed with Spurs. But again, this is going to be a massive test because you take their two best midfielders out of the team and their captain for potentially 2 months. That's a huge, huge blow.
Yeah, I agree. I would say Tottenham and Liverpool are the two teams that I'm the most curious about. Not with the people that they have in this tournaments, how they're going to cope. I can't really think of anyone else. Especially because of the fact that you mentioned Basuma and Sarr. That's like 75% of their midfield, or whatever the math is. I'm a comm major. And obviously Salah not being there for Liverpool is huge. And I wouldn't say Endo not being there is huge, but it's certainly a loss, noticeable. That they, if you remember correctly, in the summer they were scraping and clawing to find a holding midfielder. And he was supposed to be the answer. He's not a world beater, but he seems like he's fitted in pretty nicely.
Yeah, he's come along.
And I think Spurs are going to be fine. I still think that they're not good. I don't think they're going to get back to the point that they were earlier on in the year where they were almost unbeatable. That's over to me. I don't care. I don't care if Van de Ven's coming back. I don't. I still firmly believe that way. I think that they're not broken, but they're. I don't explain it. It's like
vulnerable.
They're halt. It's like it's put to a halt. Like their progression, in my opinion. They're still going to end up fine. There's probably going to be top 4 or 5 team, but I don't think they're not going to be. It's not going to be as prolific as it was before the rest of the season. I just firmly believe that. Yeah. And another guy. This is not a Premier League player, but like Napoli not having Osimhen.
Yeah.
I mean, ooh. Who? I mean, you thought we mentioned before, like in other shows, how I don't know what's to like about Napoli other than him. I don't. I have no idea how they won Serie. Didn't they win Serie A last year? I have no idea.
Won the Scudetto for the first time in 30 years last year.
I have no. I mean, other than him, I have no idea how they did that.
That's not the only player they're missing too. And Giza's in the midfield.
Oh yeah, the guy he's
that's a big piece for them too.
Yep. Oh yeah, and him. So yeah, Napoli. We're not the Premier League team, but in trouble. Already are in trouble, but without those two, they're in more trouble.
Yeah, I mean they're also. I mean, if we're just talking about like the top 6 teams, I mean, yeah, it's Liverpool, Spurs. I mean, you look at other teams like Brentford, who have 3 players. Nottingham Forest. I mean, these are teams that are,
Brentford
the bottom half.
Are losing more players.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't help them with all the injuries they're dealing with. Wista, they're losing.
Oof.
I mean that's already yours.
And they would have been missing Mbomo if he wasn't injured.
Yeah, him too.
Gosh, they need Ivan Toney back quickly.
Yeah, they really do. Onyeka, Kim Ji-soo, like, oh man, like that. I mean, some of these guys, like, they've had to play because of these injuries, but it certainly doesn't make their survival chances any better. because I mean, what was the last time they won?
Their last win was against Luton, December 2nd.
Yeah, it's been a month.
They've lost they've lost 5 straight games in all competitions. Actually, they're all in the Prem, but
that's not good for them.
Not
I
at
don't
all.
think their luck's going to change in a domestic tournament.
No, I completely agree. They have Wolves in the FA Cup.
Loss.
I think they're already out of the Carabao Cup. So,
Yeah, they damn right they're out of the Carabao Cup. But you know, they're still in it. And luckily they got Middlesbrough of all the teams. Thank God we got the easiest draw.
Yeah, just don't lose it.
If
they lose to freaking Middlesbrough,
I think we might have to do Jacob's rant episode. Just scrap just a segment. It might have to be the whole show.
I'm telling you, boys, this is our trophy to win. And I fully expect. What do you mean,
Yeah, your Mickey Mouse trophy.
Oh, yeah, you're in it. Oh, I forgot. That's
we got
because stupid West Ham didn't want to win it for some. I don't understand. Why did West Ham quit? You're not gonna win a lot of trophies. Don't you want to try and win one?
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
They quit. They didn't even try and beat Liverpool. That was a freaking joke.
That wasn't this bad. Yeah.
That was a disgrace.
Yeah.
Hey, they're losing Kudus also in the AFCON.
Yeah. But, one team I wanted to mention too, I was looking at their squad, is Wolves. Huang He-Chen is been on some of the best form of a team in the bottom half. 10 league goals. I mean, they're missing Lamina, who's brought in some goals from the midfield. Aït-Nouri, who was originally a French international, moved over to Algeria. That's a big piece off that left side. Wolves, I mean, they've been in better form lately. I mean, they're starting to find their form. I think they could still potentially finish in the top half, but they're going to really need Pedro Neto to get back playing 90 minutes quickly, because Huang has been their best player in the attacking third. So I think he's really a big piece for them. But as you guys mentioned, I think the two biggest teams certainly at the top of the table are Tottenham and Liverpool. For absentees. City, we mentioned, I don't think any players are going to either competition.
Nope. Or Newcastle for that matter, which helps them, I guess.
Arsenal is only Tomiyasu and Thomas Partey, I think, off the top of my head. And again, neither has really played a major role.
Oh yeah, I was going to say
yes, that's a good mention. Again, I don't even know how many minutes he's played this year, but it hasn't been many.
Hardly any.
He's actually played 1 minute in the Premier League. Exactly.
Wow.
On the dot.
Yeah, I had to check.
That's
so we'll have to see. I'm really excited to see how those two tournaments pan out. I know South Korea and Japan are the two big favorites at the Asian Cup, and then to me, I think the AFCON. We'll discuss that more in detail next week, but that seemed pretty wide open. I mean, Morocco had a fantastic run of the World Cup. Nigeria's got Boniface and Osimhen. You got, Senegal, who's been one of the better teams in Africa. I think there's a lot of talent in that competition. We'll see how it goes. But is there anything else before we go?
No.
Perfect. All right. Well, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go in the comments. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to talk in the future. But for now, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.